Hi, my name is Angie Medlin, and I am a 29-year-old English professor from sunny Southern California with a few poetry publications under my belt while I work on my two debut novels, one being a romantasy novel, the other being a zombie apocalypse novel. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Writing Talks with Angie. Today we're going to be doing a part 2 on pacing. In the last video, I talked about pacing using longer sentences, and that longer sentences have a tendency to help slow the reader down, especially when you want them to absorb a lot of detailed description and world building. In this video, I'm going to be talking about shorter sentence pacing and showing a couple of examples about that. Now, with shorter sentences, the general effect is that your reader is going to speed up their reading. This is going to make a scene go by a lot quicker. It's going to make things seem a lot more action-packed. So usually shorter sentences are reserved for those instances where you want things to kind of happen in a flash. So I pulled an example from my zombie apocalypse novel, and I'm going to be doing the same thing that I did with the last video, where I read a good version of the excerpt, a better version, and the best version. And at the end, we'll come back and talk about why the best version is the best version when it comes to those shorter sentence pacing. So this is the good version of the excerpt. She counted down the next 5 seconds in her head, watching as the dead walkers ran closer. Then she turned to make sure Candy and Milton were behind her. She turned back to face the onslaught, the guttural screaming reaching her ears as a gun suddenly went off. This is the better version. She counted down the next 5 seconds in her head. All the while, she watched the dead walkers get closer. Then she turned to make sure Candy and Milton were behind her. When she turned back to face the onslaught, the guttural screaming finally reached her ears. It was then that a gun suddenly went off. And this is the best version. 5. She watched as the dead walkers ran closer. 4. She turned to make sure Candy and Milton were behind her. 3. She turned back to face the onslaught. 2. The guttural screaming began. 1. A gun suddenly went off. Each passage, once again, it tells the exact same part of the story, but each has a different effect on us. Whereas the first version with the longer sentences, which I believe I've marked that one as 3 sentences, is a little bit slower paced, there's less pauses, and there's a little bit more of a sense of detail and kind of slowing the reader down. In the better version, we have a little bit more of a mix between the shorter sentences and the longer sentences, but it's still a little bit longer winded than me as a writer would like it to be. I want a little bit more of that actiony effect. And so my version, which I consider the best version, is the last one, where the sentences are short, they're punctuated, and there's a lot more pauses as I am reading through that section of the story. So again, when we're talking about pacing, it really depends on what you as the reader want as far as the effect you're going to have on your reader. Do you want them to slow down, get a sense of the information that you're trying to divulge, or do you want them to kind of speed through an action-packed scene and be kind of shocked at some of the information that they are gathering? Play with both. See which one fits your scenes better. That's really the trick to writing, is to just practice and see what feels good to you. All right, guys. So this is it for the 2-parter on pacing. Once again, if you guys have any questions or have any topics that you would like me to discuss, please feel free to put them in the comments somewhere. Let me know what other topics you guys would like me to talk about. And once again, I love you all. Stay safe, stay sane in these crazy times, and I will be back with another video very shortly. Bye-bye.